Welcome to the midweek devotion of the United Methodist Church in Littleton, Illinois. Every Wednesday, I try to post a short devotion. I try to start with a nature clip that's inspiring, then share an idea that I hope is thought-provoking, and get it all done in 15 minutes or less. This week, I'm going to tag on to the last week's devotion just a little bit. How much do you know about Christendom as a whole outside of your own little tribe? So that's where we pick up this week. I've heard it said that evangelical Christianity is like a river a mile wide and an inch deep. And that's an old cliche that comes from the Platte River on the Oregon Trail. So how do we fight that? How do we grow deeper than an inch deep and a mile wide? And the last thing I did last week was leave a website for you, Christian Classics Ethereal Library, as a place you can find a ton of the greatest Christian works in history. Now, this week, I'm going to add on to that, and I gave myself the assignment of choosing 10 books that I think every Christian should read to kind of help them grow. I also gave myself some criteria. One, it has to be a book that was memorable for me when I read it. Two, it can't be too easy, not like fast food Christianity. A lot of the books we read are just fast food Christianity. Feel good, inspirational type of stuff, but not the depth that we're looking for. But on the other hand, three, it can't be so deep that it's hard to comprehend with words that are so archaic that it's hard to read. And so there has to have a certain ease of reading, but a certain meatiness to the quality of it. And it has to be something that has made a difference to me also. And it's outside of any one little box, not just regurgitating the views of my tribe, but something that can stand the size of Christianity and make a difference. This is a tough assignment that I've given to myself. I started picking 10 books that every Christian should read, and I found about 100 of them that every Christian should read. And so to narrow them down, I know I won't get this in an order that anybody else gets it in. And some of you may have views that I don't have. You might want to kick some of mine off the list. You might want to add some of mine. The first one, though, the Bible. Yep, the first book I'm going to suggest is just the most obvious is the Bible. If you sit down and you try to read through the Bible, some of you can make it, some of you can't make it. Some of you think this is a daunting task. Well, I'm going to suggest, as I have many times before, that you listen to it audio on your computer, on your cell phone, on however you have it, with earbuds or just while you're working around the house, that you listen to the Bible read. You can go through it a lot faster. It was originally written to be read and heard aloud, and that's still the fastest, easiest way to comprehend and get through it. If you get through 4 or 5 chapters, a day, maybe a half an hour or something like that, just listening to it, or 20 minutes listening to it, you'll go through it in no time. Furthermore, my suggestion is that you go through it again and again and again and again, and every time switch versions. I think of Lancelot Andrewes, who was one of the translators of the 1611 King James, who said that even the meanest, that is, simplest, smallest, least significant version of the Bible is still God's Word. My second and third choices are both works of fiction. They are allegories for the Christian life, great bedtime stories for children. That is The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and Pilgrim's Progress. It'll be hard to beat them in newer books. Now, I bought a set of the entire Chronicles of Narnia, which the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is just one book in that set. I bought a set of each of them for each of my three children. And as they were growing up, we read them. I read them to each of the different children at the age that fit as bedtime stories, and changed my voice to make all the characters the best I could. Even though it's a work of fiction, it'll touch home and you'll see yourself in it. And you'll see the Christian life in it as it unfolds. So I'd suggest Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, or even better yet, the whole Chronicles of Narnia and Pilgrim's Progress. Now I'm going to say something that is probably going to seem very strange, since my number 2 and number 3 book on the list, although other than the Bible, the rest of them don't really have an order, but they were both works of fiction. I'm going to say I personally don't like fiction very much. And that's because it's not true. It's not real. Now, the author has a point that they want to try to get across, and if it's an inspirational fiction, some sort of inspiring point, and they create these make-believe characters and the circumstances that happen in their lives in such a way that it ends up the way the author wants it to end up from the start. And it takes you right along with it. To me, that doesn't seem like something that I want to build my beliefs on. On the other hand, this is the next category: biographies of real flesh and blood Christians and journals of Christians as they go through their lives. Those inspire me more than almost any work of fiction could, because I'm seeing people that are struggling through life the same way that I am, and how God has worked in their lives. And it's not make-believe. It's not fiction. And it doesn't always turn out real sweet and kind. Sometimes it gets messy, but whatever it is real. I like for two of my favorites. I'll put this down as number 4 and number 5. The Journal of John Wesley. Just amazing. And the other is the private journal of George Fox, who suffered a great deal for his faith, was in and out of prison big portions of his life because he would not budge, and God used him in an amazing way. Anytime I could get my hand on an honest biography or a journal, that's good reading, if it's a Christian that God has used. For slots number 6 and 7 in my countdown of 10 books, I'm going to go and put them both in the same category once again. I'm going to move to the category of apologetics. But in the world that we live in today, there are so many people that if they get in the right public pulpit, on the TV or something, and they look down and scorn Christianity as being irrational or superstitious, if they say it loud enough, if they say it long enough, if they get enough of a name, then people begin to believe it. But it's not necessarily true. Mere Christianity. See, I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll put this number 6. Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis, and The Case for Christ by Lee Strobel. Now, C.S. Lewis was an atheist, a university professor in England, a man of considerable talent, quite outspoken, quite well known, and Lee Strobel was one of the editors in the Chicago Tribune and was an outspoken atheist. Both of them came to believe that Christianity was reasonable, rational, and true. And both of them write about it. Not in ways where they're expressing a story like Pilgrim's Progress or a biography, but in ways where they are using solid logic, good logic, to explain the importance or the rationale behind the Christian faith. Those are excellent books. They're not over your head, but they are eye-opening. Now I want to talk in the next categories, number 8 and number 9, I want to talk about living the practical Christian life. I'm going to pick 2 books, Celebration of Discipline by Richard J. Foster. I'm going to use that one, and then How to Give Away Your Faith by Paul Little. Start with Celebration of Discipline. Richard Foster. He is a Quaker person, and is a contemplative by nature. And he talks about living the Christian life, exercising the Christian life. He talks about three kinds of disciplines: inward discipline, fasting, prayer; uh, outward discipline, serving others and helping others and living a life of simplicity; and corporate disciplines, worshiping together, taking communion together, being together on Sunday morning. And he says that all of these, the internal, the external, the corporate, are all important for the Christian. And he gives a little list of different types of disciplines for each category and talks a little bit about it. The other one is a little book by InterVarsity Press that was written a long time ago. Oh, a lot of these books are very old, by Paul Little. I am a quiet person by nature. I'm not a salesperson. I'm not an outgoing person. I'm not the kind of person that could just grab somebody on the street corner and introduce them to Christ. That's just not me. And as I was growing up as a teenager and then going into college later, I knew that Christianity is a missionary religion. You can't be fully faithful to the New Testament if you're not telling the story of Jesus Christ to others. That's one of the problems people have with Christianity today, is that we won't keep our mouths shut. We're a missionary story because Jesus says, go into all of the world and preach the gospel. But if you are a backward, wallflower type person, how do you do that? That was me. And this little book from InterVarsity Press gave me some tools that changed that part of my life. It didn't make me a salesman. It didn't give me hints on how to win friends and influence enemies. And it didn't, all of a sudden make me outgoing. I'm still me, but it gave me the tools to be me as a person of faith at the same time. And it might do the same for you. Man, I'm just pretty sure that I'm out of time and I'm out of slots. Just maybe one more slot, and I've got a bunch more books that I could talk about for a lot longer, but I'll just throw in two. The first one is Knowing God by J.I. Packer. It has been listed as probably one of the 50 most influential books in Christian history, or influential to evangelicals. I should put that caveat on it. And the other one is also written by an evangelical. It's The Purpose-Driven Life by Rick Warren. It's a much newer book, very easy to read, and has made a considerable impact in Christianity here in the United States and abroad. So there you have it. 10 books that I would suggest every Christian read, every Christian who wants to grow deep read. It may be that you'd like to add to that list. We have some space for comments down below. If you have a book that has made a lot of difference in your life that you think should have hit this list, go ahead and add that to the list. May God bless you, keep you, watch over you, take care of you during this holiday season.